Oh, shoot. Hey guys, welcome to our review of Darling the Franks episode 15. I'm your host, the Cinder Blaze. And with me today we have...
Strange words.
And Makotoa.
Man, this episode was quite the doozy.
One heck of an episode.
Yeah, like... The ending...
Let me start, please.
Okay.
Let me start, because I tried to watch this episode by myself first, and I got 3 minutes into the point where they were all in the group saying, "Hey, yeah, we'll come back alive. Don't worry, hero." And he's just like, "You guys, please come back alive." And I'm just like, "Nope, not gonna watch this anymore. I'm done. Red flags. Somebody's gonna die. Everyone's gonna die. They're all dead." Like, so I just stopped. And I waited until everyone else was ready, and then we watched it together. But, like,
Yeah.
go figure, they got me, man. Like, I was sure as heck that someone was going to die this episode. I mean, one thing did die. The Ichigo hero ship. What was left of it, I should say.
Man, there was no hope from the
At
beginning.
least it didn't, like, completely capsize. It kind of, like, dissolved into the ocean. It was a very peaceful death. It was a very accepting of its
It
fate.
accepted its death.
Yeah.
Happily. Well,
It
not
was
happily,
like on the
but
Titanic when they had the musicians playing as the ship was sinking,
I'm not. I think that was far more tragic. But this one's more like dying with everyone, with your entire family around you. It's like, you know what? It's my time. I must go now.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, let's like talk about that real quick because like that was the thing that we kind of left off of last episode, and going into this week's episode, I was really worried for like the state of Ichigo's heart. I don't think she would like be able to like handle like the rejection. But at the beginning of the episode, they're like, she's kind of like holding his hand, like nothing really happened. I am pretty positive that Hiro did the traditional Shinji-esque thing of just doing nothing. So he's just like, well, I love this other girl, and this other girl's making out with me, so
I mean, she got to see it firsthand in his head. She's like, I finally get to see what's in his head, and it's all her. Damn it. Just like, and then she's like, well,
I have no chance.
yeah,
Zero chance.
At that point, she accepted her fate and helped Hiro be happy.
yeah. And like,
That's all she can do.
at least she got to like punch 02 a couple times before
Yes. That
went down.
That was quite satisfying, in my
Yeah.
opinion, because those occurrences where they had like a sort of standoff in real life, where it almost seemed like 02 was just going to like kill her or wipe the floor with her, like, we never got to actually see it happen, and so now they actually for real fought, sort of, but
It was,
that
a
slap.
fight of understanding.
I mean, it kind of was like a one-sided fight. Like Strelizia wasn't really fighting back, but still kind of winning. Like she knocked off her hat, and then like her hair.
The weird pineapple pink hair. Why?
Apparently,
That was weird.
yeah.
That
Apparently,
was
they gave them X hair. I mean, they already had tongues and like other unnecessary facial features.
They
And
had
That
the, like,
makes
little,
sense.
there's like that little, like, taiga strip
I just,
on the mask.
I just don't understand why you got get the pineapple. Just,
yeah, like
why?
it happened briefly, and I don't think we're gonna see it
Yeah,
again unless
there's-
like someone in the production really loved it.
And, we had Hiro just kind of go off on his own in that little mech thing and just, like, get
Yeah.
tumbled and rolled, bang his head on the glass, and then...
Yeah, like he didn't really have any choice at that point. Like it's either he does nothing or he just dies because like the things are already invading. Strelizia is basically down, but like the other plantations, I felt like besides the one that committed suicide midway through the episode, I thought it was like kind of useless. I was like, you guys are just gonna explode. It's a giant ass thing that's like way bigger than a plantation. What are you guys possibly gonna do?
Yeah, when they went in for the suicide thing, and like everyone's disposable here. Like that's the weird thing. As
Yeah.
much as these giant cities full of people are being destroyed, like their plantation went down like that, and what what did it feel like to us? It didn't feel like much because those cities don't feel they feel kind of empty even though they're full of people.
Yeah,
And even like the boss people at the top, like you were saying before, Alex, off camera.
Yeah.
That like those guys in charge were like fully ready to like dispose of everybody. Like they were even self-destructing the one that our group was from.
Yeah.
Towards the end.
Like the upper ups are kind of like real fishy at this certain point. Like I think you were saying before, like how they just don't really care about anything. And
here's the thing: the people in the plantations, they're pretty soulless, so they don't really have that much value per se.
Except as fuel, as we saw.
Oh,
I like how
yeah.
all
right.
Frick,
This episode is
here comes the theory crap.
So many things that you can just think of. So I had some. Immediately after watching the episode, I had some theories. So first, we got the validation of my humans being Klaxors, except it's just a different form. Instead of being straight up Klaxors, instead, the power source of Klaxors. So it's or maybe a mix of power sources and the brain. So it might be a little bit of both.
We've been throwing around the ideas at one point. It might have been their spirits, apparently. Like that could have been.
Oh yeah, that's one thing I was thinking about. It's like what happens when people die in this world? Because let's say there's no normal afterlife. Instead, if you just get sent to like some remnant of like ancient technology that gathers mental energy and repurposes it, and it's just the sort of like haywire factory, and that's they're getting the previous minds and bodies of people and just turning them into Klaxor cores.
Yeah.
And it's just there's a lot of stuff going on.
Especially after this episode, I'm leaning more towards that humanity split off at one point. Like there was some kind of biological thing where like some of them became the Klaxosaurs and some of them didn't get like infected by this thing and just stayed normal humans in these like little groupings of humanity that were left after we saw like all those buildings abandoned and cities and stuff. It's like was some sort of biological thing happened and people were changing into Klaxosaurs or something, and like somehow we had a group that was immune, or they just escaped the initial like virus and now they're vaccinated or something. Like I don't know. There's a lot of talk about like the yellow blood cells thing. So what were your theories on that again?
Go ahead, Alex.
Oh, I think like going back in that whole genetic thing, like I feel like the like people were kind of like genetically engineered to kind of like pilot the Klaxosaurs to begin with, right? Because like that would explain why 02 and like the rest of like the single digit pilots are able to pilot it by themselves, because they have such a high yellow blood cell count. And then like all of the other pilots, like the kids from the orphanages, they're probably like partially infected, or maybe they have it like somewhat ingrained into their DNA. So
there was that surgery or that that was done where they had a chance of dying from it, but they'd be more capable of piloting if they survived.
Oh, actually, I just realized. I think the reason for death wasn't that they'd actually die from getting extra cells injected. It's they die from getting too many cells injected. Because the thing is, with too many yellow blood cells, they turn to Klaxors.
Yeah.
So the one in like the 10% chance to survive was like we only have a 9% chance of being able to inject the right amount of yellow blood cells to keep a child within human range.
Yeah, and like all the other orphans that kind of like take too much, they're just like, oh well, they either kill them or they just like release them off to the wild and just like you will train our other dogs.
It's like we'll kill you later.
I don't think they probably just straight up kill them because they don't want to deal with like having to fight them later or something. So they probably just kill them. But like, what about like the whole thing about them not being able to grow up or something?
Yeah, I think that has to do with like the line of work that they have. They either die in combat or like they get overworked and their yellow blood cell count just is too
it
high.
skyrockets, and then they become Klaxosaurs or something like that.
Or they become too close to Klaxosaurs. It's like, you know what? Hey, you know what? We're gonna celebrate your retirement. Or we're gonna retire you personally.
But personally, I don't think that's like something that happens too often. I feel like a lot of them just die in combat because
I feel like
Probably.
most all the really, like, I'd say like 99% of deaths are due to combat, and then 1% are like, oh man, the famous veteran who went into retirement after that was the Klaxosaurs.
That's how they think that they can become adults one day, is because of that one guy, right? Like,
I guess there's like just stories of just like, oh yeah, there's just a few people who made it to adulthood. We just never see them though.
Yeah.
But they're there.
Yeah.
Wait, does this mean that they can't, like, does this mean that they were never meant to reproduce? Did they neuter the kids at a young age or something?
I think they just planned it out so, like, okay, we're gonna put together these pairs of obviously matching individuals to, make them be in sync.
They can't do that though. That's
though they would be, married in all other circumstances, we're just gonna, not let that happen. And also,
you know what? Like, I'm actually gonna say I don't believe that they are incapable of reproducing, because
they're definitely are capable of reproducing. It's just that they're not going to be allowed to, and they don't.
Oh, not allowed to. Okay, because like, I don't think that they'd be able to trigger the like male-female like ratio thing if they were like.
They still have puberty, so of course.
Yeah, that's true. They were going through it, so they have to. Yeah, sure. Yeah, evidence.
Yeah.
I'm going to, continue to believe that we can have a new generation with 02 and Hero's children.
And 02 and Hero.
That's possible. I think that's like the least likely.
It's possible, but it's oh boy, you're gonna have to survive the tragic endings that are littered across the way.
Survive.
It's like a cross between like a red child and a white child. It's kind of like striped.
No, I'm talking about just having them survive to the end of the series.
Oh,
yeah. There's so many ways they can die, or one of them can die.
Yeah, I don't feel very much plot armor for either of them, to be honest.
Oh, like plot armor until the very end, like that's.
Oh, okay, that's it.
Yeah, they're gonna survive until the last 2 episodes at least.
Yeah, and probably the final episode, unless like someone particular dies before. But that actually reminds me of like something. I think we already talked about like how Ichigo and Hiro kind of like piloted and went all the way over to 02. Since when was Hiro able to like pilot with someone else?
He can do it for a little bit.
I think he's gotten like, because he had that rejuvenation.
Oh wait, he also is probably way better at piloting now because he's got like 5 trillion yellow blood cells due to being with 02 all the time.
Yeah, I think it has something to do with that.
So even though he's like, you know what, I have no feelings for Ichigo, but I'm OP now, so let me just
like we'll have to like see like whether like the yellow blood cell count is actually the trigger with that, because I think Hiro like traditionally had the super high yellow blood cell count even with when he was piloting with the other chick. It just like something wasn't working. It probably had to do with what, like he ingested Klaxosaur blood or something. Maybe his
he just 02's blood. Yeah.
Well, she's a Klaxosaur.
She's a special Klaxosaur though.
I have to give props to Goro this episode, because he was the one that was finally like, all right, Ichigo, enough's enough. Like
you're being dumb.
He finally took a stand, and he's like, no, I'm tired of seeing them fight like this. Even though all our lives are at stake, that's what I care about. I care about the relationship between them two. We're probably all gonna die, but that's not the reason I'm doing this. It's because of the relationship. I can't stand seeing them fight anymore.
Yeah. It's like, just let them be together. Come on, Ichigo.
And we're all about to die. That kind of thing.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of like hated that, like, that kind of motivation aspect of Garo, because part of me doesn't feel like it's like genuine kind of concern for like their relationship. Maybe it's like out of Hiro especially, because he does respect him, but
you don't think it's some underhanded thing like, oh well, if I can get Hiro to get back together with 02, I'll have a chance with Ichigo? Is that what you're thinking?
No, not a chance, an assured 100% chance.
Yeah. I don't think he's that manipulative, man.
He had like this whole like not fetish, but like like this the whole driving motivation about like that whole hair clip being being heroes instead of his. Like that triggered him so hard for so long. I can't.
Man, it was a childhood grudge. I mean, look at Mitsuru. He hasn't recovered from his. Well, no,
barely,
he
yeah.
just recovered from his.
Just barely
After
recovered.
years.
Yeah, so like I don't think that Goro's completely, in the clean when it comes to petty things. Like I don't like hate him like that much for it. Like I find it really amusing, slightly, but let Goro do Goro things. He's always a nice dude. And so is like Hiro this episode. Oh man, I don't think we talked about like the whole reunion and this rendition of the podcast.
Oh gosh.
Oh man.
Just a quick PSA. We recorded the podcast before. It was great, and then stuff happened. Let's say
Something happened.
and now we have to do it again. Anyways, so yeah, the reunion. I really liked it. It was really touching. Like it was the first time that I actually felt there was something nice between 02 and Hiro, because before it was just 02 taking the lead on stuff and just being, hey darling, you're my darling, and he's like, I guess I am. Mm-hmm. And then this episode,
whatever the hell that
you're
means.
my darling.
Yeah.
And he kisses her.
This is you're the real darling, and you told me how to say this word, so.
Yeah, and like the kind of like build up that went in before it, like they're talking about like how they called each other kind of like names, like, oh, I used you, I called you like kind of like fodder and stuff, and he's like, I called you monster, it's okay, but like he calls her darling at the very end, and I was like, you know what, I really did dislike this pairing in the beginning because it felt like the plot and like all the advertisement just like, this is a thing. Like, and we're gonna like structure the plot so it's just even more of a thing, and just like it didn't feel all that natural. But when it comes to these clutch moments, like the characters themselves kind of like pull through, and I really enjoyed that part of it.
When we get to know more of like how their backstory went, and that Hiro was a better character in the past,
and
now we have him back, right? There we go. Now we have him back. He's actually willing to try and let's, I need to see what's on the other side of the wall, Let's go Eren Yeager style. We're gonna
just a bunch of trees.
Yeah.
There's more trees over there. Come on, let's go. No.
Yeah. But like that reunion was so touching that it sparked this whole power up, which is probably my least favorite part of the episode, even though like that's the thing that I would want to look forward to the most in this type of series. Like that kind of whole like character revelation into like a massive power up that's like really fun to watch. But like the power levels in this series are so like
all over
incoherent. It like I can't understand what like their power levels are. Like when Strelizia just like one shots enemies out of nowhere, I don't care. Like it's nothing really built up to it. It was never really a challenge to begin with. Like
there was. Especially this episode when the realism gets thrown out the window, when like she sets off like chain reaction explosions that don't, like, you weren't even way over there, and yet those things are exploding.
And then suddenly it's just let's just make a gigantic volcano of energy erupt and clear the sky. Yeah, this is good. This is appropriate power scaling. I know it was the power of love power up. However,
power of love power.
Oh man, dude. Okay, I know this doesn't apply to you, Jordan, but Michael, have you watched that one filler episode in Naruto Shippuden where they revive these 4 legendary lightning style users that are trying to blow up the Leaf Village, and they have like scatter all across the village, and there's like these like pillars of lightning, and if all 4 of them kind of like turn on, it turns into like limelight and it blows up the entire village. Like that's what I was thinking, except they actually pull it off in this one.
Okay, I remember what you're talking about. Yeah, that's wow.
All right, well, okay, yeah, definitely agree. Yeah, that's the thing. Anyways, one thing I didn't mind the power. It was fine for me. Power skilling's crazy, so I'm just kind of like,
Yeah, once Hiro finally took the horns in the relationship, everything works out.
So one bad thing I have to say about power up though, I don't like the new design of Strelizia, because just it makes a lot of sense. It's very, very lower
Yeah,
More
like
perfect
she's like
design.
accepting of a red skin, you know.
Yeah, but just doesn't look that good
It
on the
didn't.
mech.
It didn't have horns though, did it?
No, it had little X's where the horns
Yeah.
go.
Should have had horns.
You can't
That's
just
probably like a
grow
final form or
horns.
something. Like it didn't. It already doesn't like work that well the
Actually,
thing,
no.
but
No, she has one big horn already.
8 out of 10 needs more horns.
Man, needs
like antlers, dude.
100% more horns, apparently.
Yeah. The design I think is like a bit too red. There's not enough contrast. It's mostly
Yeah.
because like the first form looks as good as it did. That this one
Yeah.
doesn't look
Yeah.
that good.
Yeah.
But I think like I said before in the other podcast, the fight scenes in this anime are actually like the worst part. Like they're animated well, but like there's no stakes in any of this. There was like some minor ones introduced where a plantation full of people we didn't know or care about died. That was tragic. I almost
that
cried.
happened in this episode. Yeah, like they're nothing to us. They're barely people apparently, and
Here's the thing here's a real big thing is that there's so few things that matter. Like the enemies, most of them are fodder, and the few that aren't really that impressive. We haven't seen anything too crazy yet, except for one thing that we'll talk about in a bit. And then the people, like we saw what the people in the plantation are like. They're kind of just, it's like they're barely even human.
they're kind of zombies.
Yeah. And like apparently they're like the clean humans that aren't in contaminated with the yellow blood cells. So
Oh yeah, that's right. They had to do like a whole decontamination scene after Zoro or whatever his name was.
Zoro.
so they're probably not the orphans. So the orphans are most likely going to be related to the Klaxosaurus type side of things, or like they just get killed or something.
Did they
brutal like
steal
that.
the children? Are
Um,
these children from the Klaxosaur race?
No.
No.
You can't be an adult. No, it's like they're
I'm-
resented. So I
I'm
don't
pretty
know.
sure they grew up on a farm or something.
Yeah, I'm pretty
Yeah.
sure they were just. I'm pretty sure they were just either test tube babies or something like that.
Yeah, pretty much.
And
It's
they
like
just injected the yellow blood cell gene.
you remember
into
in that
their-
previous episode with Zorome where he's like, "Why would you do something like this?" And like, "Hey, cut the kid a break. You know, it's not like it's not his fault that he's in this situation. He didn't.
Yeah.
You know." So that was. It seems like there's a general resentment towards them because of their Klaxosaur blood. But yeah, this interesting stuff, and we got a lot of interesting stuff this episode. Are we going to talk about the interesting thing that came out of the
I
hole?
mean,
The giant
yeah.
hand, yes.
The
that-
giant, like, friggin' tub hand, like, it was, like, super stubby.
Oh
with-
man, those tiny little fingers, dude. It
Yeah,
was a
it's like-
long
it
ass
was
arm.
like a giant baby.
Oh man,
Don't go there.
baby-related antagonists are.
I
Whew.
mean, the whole theme of this is pairing people up and getting them in mechs in bed together, right? Like,
Turns out that 02 has to kill her kid at the end because that's what the gigantic baby thing is.
Giant Klaxosaur baby.
Giant clacks.
Oh.
No,
That almost killed them though. That was
Yeah, that thing-
ridiculous.
yeah.
crazy. It was just like, oh yeah, I'm just casually destroy everything but you and this tiny bit of the plantation.
Yosho
I'm gonna
lucky.
go take this corpse back real quick. Don't mind me.
Yeah, it was a really big core too. Like that was.
It was filled with cores actually.
Yeah, it was
Yeah.
about to explode and just like take out the entire area if they didn't get out of there. I'm pretty sure like they were kind of doomed, like Plantation 13, and I'm pretty sure like that one lady that Zorome did like see in the city, like there's a high chance that she died as well,
Oh,
because like
gosh.
the hand did hit like
Yeah, it
take out
it
a
got
huge chunk of
most
it.
It got like 2/3 of the city for sure.
yeah.
Ah.
And I'm actually like really interested from like this part of the series. I think like this half will be a lot stronger. But I'm really concerned over the secondary characters because like that's one thing I really hate about the power up. Like Strelizia's way too powerful. Like in the beginning, like it felt a little bit more grounded because like she was just like slightly better, you know, because she had more experience and stuff like that. But this kind of blew like I don't see those guys coming anywhere near relevancy, and I think we'll see the single digit team like kind of rise in prominence. So
let's do final thoughts because I think we took way longer than we were expecting to.
Yeah, we're reaching around 25 minutes, but this was like a fun episode. But yeah, any final thoughts between you guys? Because I'm pretty sure I'm good
now.
Man, I have so many things so many questions that I have to ask, and so many theories that I feel I got some good shots at being right.
We have.
Yeah, I think there's a lot. We're getting near to some big stuff.
Yeah, I feel like next episode will be a little bit calmer, so we can probably like discuss more about it then. But for now, guys, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe down below, and check our description for all of our social media links and the juicy Discord link as well. We'll catch you next time. Keep it juicy.
See ya.
See ya.
Oh man, we have been recording for over an hour, I think. No.
Hey, guess
You mean in the call?
Oh man. Oh, I mean, like the first recording was like 17 minutes. So.
Man.